evening, people. How are we this evening? Welcome to another Brews at 10 live stream. On my left eye, I'm your host Lefty. Hope you're all doing tremendously well this fine evening. Hedy, Chris von Nackerizer, good to see you in the chat as well. No PMQs today, but I'll be catching up on a few other bits and pieces with you, of course. Yeah, so no fun and games at the dispatch box, but there's obviously this developing breaking situation in Lebanon with this Israeli tech attack. And although they've not officially owned up to anything yet, I think it goes without saying, I'm going to stick my neck out and say that it was the Israelis. So yeah, that's pretty shocking what's happened over the last couple of days, and it's still developing now. So I'll be getting my teeth into that one. Just a quick reminder to everybody out there, please do hit the thumbs up button. Help the stream get out there, reach a wider audience and so on. Today there's been a groundbreaking vote at the United Nations as well. A resolution for sanctions against Israel. I've got a couple of other bits and pieces as well. A few protests, a few trials and cases surrounding protests as well. And the latest news on Starmer's donors to the Labour Party. You might be shocked to find out that he's taking money from quite a sordid cast of characters. And yeah, there's no PMQs this week for all the establishment to try and hold into account at least, or pretend to. He must be exhausted, having, you know, he's had to do 2 in a row since the return from the summer break. 2 weeks in a row. Poor old Mike Keith, he must be exhausted. He should go and relax in an executive box or something at a sports match. Maybe with a new suit. And Becca, welcome to the chat as well. Great to see you. How you doing? Yeah, so despite a lack of PMQs, there's still plenty to talk about. Thanks for joining us in the chat as well. And if you're not subscribed, please do so. Just 99. Just 60 seconds later, you can join people in the chat as well. And for 99p, you can become a member. Monthly membership, just 99p. Please do check out the perks. That's a great way to support the channel. And whilst I'm on that topic, I'll give a customary thank you to everybody. This is the latest updated membership list. I've had some new members since last time I was with you, and also thanks to those of you who gifted memberships to other people on recent live streams as well. Solidari-Tea, thank you for your generosity. If you're not familiar with these weekday live streams, we do like to throw some tea-based puns in there, so feel free to have at it in the chat. So thanks to all you fine people. If you can see your name on the screen there, whether you're watching live or on a replay. And it's great to see our little community growing. Really trying to get over the 3,000 subscriber mark as well, so please do share streams and vids across your social media where possible. That's the next landmarking site for the channel, really. Becca, sorry to hear about your sore elbow. The right wing is causing you pain as usual. I see what you did there. Hetty, you've got yourself a hot tasty beverage. Help yourself to whatever you like though. Alright, we'll be jumping in just a moment. I'm going to start off with this Israeli-Lebanon attack. Lots to talk about there. Alright, let's snip over to the screen. And just check out the latest. This is just going to be the breaking news article from the Beeb going into first. Where to begin? Where to begin? Well, just before we go into the very latest developments, I'll do a sort of overall synopsis of the last couple of days. So this latest attack, as you're probably aware of already, revolved around pagers yesterday. 12 people were killed when pagers exploded. It appears that Israel have managed to get into the production of certain models of pager, but almost 3,000 people were injured. Several hundred of those are critically wounded. Most of the injuries concern face, hands, abdomen, those kind of areas. And this really is an underhanded move from Israel. Well, I'll come straight off the bat and say it's a terrorist attack. I know that some of the mainstream outlets are always dancing around the kind of language they use. I only do that where I want to be really specific, you know, where you've got to nail things in the bud and truly define what they are. But with the mainstream media, there are certain words that they really don't want to say because they're almost in denial about what Israel are doing vis-a-vis, obviously. It would be crazy to point out that Israel lobbyists have a certain amount of control over mainstream media, shall we say. So that was yesterday, and at the moment it's been confirmed that 12 people were killed yesterday. Today, as if things could get even more hysterically violent, there have been 14 killed so far, that's confirmed. 450 people injured, and some of the wounded include children. At least one of the victims from yesterday was a 10-year-old girl, I believe, which is pretty tragic. The right wing have been pretty sick over this. There have been some videos circulating on social media clips of right-wing influencers, shall we say, laughing at footage of the pages going off yesterday. And they went off in supermarkets, shops, all over the place. I believe 1 or 2 even went off in neighbouring Syria. Syria, just to the east of Lebanon, of course. It appears that it was Israel's intention to target members of Hezbollah with these pages, but today it's just so sporadic and random. So far, there's been a lot of talk about walkie-talkies exploding, but there have been so many other devices as well. Laptops, solar panels on roofs even, and vehicles. I've seen footage of cars and bikes on fire. Also, premises, phone shops. It looks as though what Israel have tried to do is, with yesterday's attacks, create a framework of specifically targeting Hezbollah. Then, oh look, we're attacking what they're, we're getting the bad guys. This is the Zionist mindset. And then today, they think that people will still be in that frame of mind when they just literally go off blowing up a bunch of random crap involving all sorts of people, all members of society. It's crazy stuff. Not also the access to the technology, and I'll just quickly talk about that, the technicalities of that. It isn't that they can send a message to your device, in this case pages, and that's what makes it explode. That's a trigger mechanism for a form of explosive that's already been put into the device, a physical explosive that's been put into the device during the production stage. Now, the pages that we used is Japanese technology, but at the moment it looks as though the production line, the batch that we're talking about here, which the members of Hezbollah were only given these pages a few days ago, I believe, but that main batch came from Hungary, and that's the latest on the origins of that. There are still details coming out about what went on today, so that's what I'm going to be going through in a moment. So that's just the background for the whole thing, but it's certainly terrorism. You have to imagine, if it wasn't Israel and Lebanon, if it was 2 other nation states. Oh, I'll just pick 2 at random, I guess. Let's say the United States of America and Russia, or China. You know what the mainstream media will be saying about this. It's also illegal, of course. Booby traps, various other things are prohibited under international law as well, we know. Just looking at the chat there, Chris. A Taiwan firm's denied any involvement. They gave the license to a European pager making firm, but maybe with links to our special friend in Israel. Yeah, possibly. I'm sure that there'll be other countries trying to come forward very quickly and deny any involvement in this. Just on that topic as well, America have been very quick to say that they had no prior knowledge about this attack. Anthony Blinken has stated that in a press conference today. He's supposedly in the midst of negotiating peace talks between Israel and Palestine, or Israel and Hamas specifically, in Qatar. But given the events of the last couple of days and the amount of times that the USA has come out and said that they're on the brink of getting a ceasefire, it's fair to say that those statements are somewhat over-embellished, overstated, or bullshit, if you want to put it that way. because Israel certainly are in the mood for a full-scale escalation. And that's what led us here. So there's a couple of, I'll just turn the background music down while I put on this sort of compilation. You might have seen one or two of these clips going around recently on the news, but it's just a minute-long video.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. صدر للتو هذا البيان عن حزب الله. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. بعد التدقيق في كل الوقائع والمعطيات الراهنة والمعلومات المتوفرة حول الاعتداء الآثم الذي جرى بعد ظهر هذا اليوم، فإننا نحمل العدو الإسرائيلي المسؤولية الكاملة.
We received all kinds of injuries, mainly maxillofacial injuries, punctures in the face, ruptured eyeballs.
And yeah, about those injuries as well. Thanks for that. Again in the chat, Chris, that's a great point. If a kid hears a device goes off, they want to go and grab it, whether it's a toy, someone else's phone, whatever. And now it appears that it is definitely not just Hezbollah being targeted, as appears to be the case with the pages yesterday. It's open season as far as these Zionist fanatics are concerned. And if they are denied their war in the south via a ceasefire, then they'll get it in the north. And just quickly before I go back to the video, they've also said that this is a new phase in the war. This is Israeli spokespeople, even though they've officially not said anything about what's happened in the last couple of days. They've also said that this is a new phase in the war. Is this their way of declaring war on Lebanon officially? That's just a question that we could perhaps go into in a little bit, but let's finish this clip first.
This is a complete crime against the civilians. The reprisal is coming.
Well, this is it now, and the bee frustratingly just concentrating on walkie-talkies. As I said, it's all sorts of devices, even vehicles appear to have been involved in this now. But what would the consequences possibly be? Well, there's two things. First of all, it's suggested that this looks like a preemptive attack before a further large-scale invasion. That would be Israel actually crossing the border into Lebanon with a ground invasion. And while it's still very early stages, a lot of people think that's tremendously unlikely. However, there has been footage of IDF vehicles crossing the border into Lebanon today. The other thing is obviously a retaliatory action from Hezbollah. They won't take this lying down. I'm almost certain of that. And they have high military capability, Hezbollah. So this won't go unnoticed. This won't go without consequences. It's just a case of which of those two things, comes to pass first. Alright, let's go a little further down the article. Step through. Turn this music down. So Iran's ambassador to Beirut civilians injured as well yesterday. Let's see. Mojtaba Amani. Latest totals, by the way, 26 people have been killed and over 3,000 wounded. That's just 48 hours. And there you have it. This is only going to push towards further escalation. Whoever's going to fire the next shot, strike the next, blow, whatever you want to call it. You can see from that paragraph there, the Islamic Republic of Iran will duly follow up on the attack against its ambassador in Lebanon, which resulted in his injury, and reserves its rights under international law to take required measures deemed necessary to respond to such heinous crime and violation, says Amir Saeed Eravani. That's very rich indeed. The US, excuse me, the US doesn't want to see escalation of any kind. Well, how about you stop giving these bastards a shitload of weapons and money? Tony? You know? Or is it like it was with Ukraine and Russia when they were willing to make a peace deal and you swept in with the industrial military complex? Like, no, can't. Look how much money's exchanging hands for weapons here. We can't just stop this thing. We're the United States of America, for goodness sake. He's notorious for his crocodile tears and fake sentiments anyway, as long-term viewers of the show know. I'm no fan of Blinken's. So that's very rich indeed, that's the US's line on it at the moment. I don't buy that they didn't know about it. So that just confirms that IDF forces have moved into Lebanon. And by the way, these attacks haven't just been carried out in Beirut, as some of the previous ones have. They've been all over the country of Lebanon. But the 98th Division has relocated from Gaza to the north of Israel. So that's confirmed now. Until now there was only one division in the north, the 36th. And this is the part I was referring to. Yoav Gallant said the country was opening a new phase in the war. So they've neither confirmed or tried to deny this. However, that speaks for itself. They've not just randomly moved an entire division up north for no reason whatsoever. They knew that they were provoking Hezbollah with what they've done over the last couple of days, this terrorist attack, these terrorist attacks, plural, I should say, and opening a new phase in the war. Is that a declaration of war? How are you reading that? Because that's how I'm reading it, and it's not good. It's not good. This nutjob's gone full tilt. Now he's gone absolutely full tilt. I mean, just look at him. Just look at it in the eyes. Absolute despotic psychopath we're talking about here. So on the very day that the United Nations have The General Assembly have come together and in a historic vote decided to impose sanctions on Israel. I'll be focusing a little bit more on that very shortly. But on the same day that that happens, he launches a new attack, or tries to change the sort of framework of these attacks. Start trying to pick on Lebanon. So Netanyahu's come out, he's posted a very brief 10-second video on Twitter, always Twitter, never X, and he said, "We will return the residents of the north safely to their homes, and we will do so exactly." His unpopularity domestically as well is on the rise, and as he is getting back further and further into a corner, he's getting increasingly desperate to cling on to power, to cling on to his position as well. It's not just politics, it's the overall fanaticism of Zionism as well. And he's even threatened to sack Yoav Gallant recently as well for being far too moderate, apparently, even though he's approved of war crimes himself, Gallant. Ridiculous. Just shows you how far gone Benjamin Netanyahu is. Just a little about the devices before I go into that stuff about the UN. We mentioned just a short time ago, Icon, the brand of these, is a Japanese company, but it looks as though the actual batch, this is something I heard earlier before I came on stream, it looks as though the batch itself came from a factory in Hungary. So this is who the IDF, who Israel are provoking. For those of you who aren't familiar, just a few more details. Hezbollah's politically influential Shia Muslim organisation, which controls the most powerful armed force in Lebanon, established in the early 80s by the region's most dominant Shia power, Iran, to oppose Israel. At the time, Israel's forces had occupied southern Lebanon during the country's civil war. There were, of course, more recent conflicts between the two. 2006's was quite a big one as well. And like I said, at the moment they're concentrating on these walkie-talkies. But I think the range of devices, as well as the fact that a lot of the injured and dead are from all walks of society, this is clearly not any kind of attack on an organisation like Hezbollah with the pages. Far worse. 3,000 people injured. So yeah, most of the injuries, fingers, eyes, abdomen as well. And they knew this, and this is one of the more evil elements to it. The trigger message that gets sent to the devices, if it's a phone or whatnot, it makes it let off a notification noise. So then your natural instinct is to put the phone, pick it up, put it to your face, whatnot. A lot of the abdomen injuries obviously be from people having them in the pockets or handbags, that kind of thing. I've seen quite a few different clips going around. Some of them are pretty graphic. That's just sick, you know. they know no bounds as a country, and they'd be called out by the UN, which I guess will lead me on to this vote today, this monumental historic vote. That's as far as I'll scroll down the recent news on these attacks in Lebanon. The decision that the UN have come to obviously mostly concerns Israel's actions in Palestine, in its occupation of Palestine. Where are we? So it was a very, very big majority actually. Just open up Twitter. I just bookmarked a page here. Just give that a moment to load up. And so yeah, the first time in 42 years. This comes from BDS movement. That is boycott, divest, and sanction. Give them a follow. And it says the world's global majority affirmed that the historic ruling by the ICJ triggers the legal obligation of all states to end complicity in Israel's illegal occupation and apartheid regime. States have the duty to impose a comprehensive military embargo, as well as trade, energy, academic and other sanctions, as was done against apartheid South Africa. There have been so many comparisons made between this apartheid and that in South Africa, of course. Did I have a clip lined up for that one? So I'm a bit low on clips this evening. I know there's been a bit of article scrolling. I'll have to bear with. But still, thanks for being here on the Brews at 10. So yeah, finally, an international body is actually putting proper sanctions on Israel across the whole range of industries, as you saw there. And it's all well and good coming out with statements and requests for arrest warrants, etc. If they're not implied, then they're empty sentiments, really. What good is the use of such bodies unless they can prove their efficacy? And this is far too late, as we've passed a 41,000 death that milestone just days ago. But at least something's been, something's happening this time around. But it really should have happened years ago, decades ago, in fact. There was something today as well, I believe. Which country was it? It's a new embargo which concerns goods being shipped from India to Israel as well. There was a country that said that they'll block any trade between India and Israel. So many more countries, the list gets longer and longer. So he's finding himself increasingly isolated, is Netanyahu, and hence, well, that brings me back to really his desperation and why his attacks are getting increasingly indiscriminate. Obviously, so many women and children have been killed or injured so far, as well as indiscriminate killing of journalists, UN staff, legal observers, anyone. Anyone can be a target in Palestine, in Gaza, in the West Bank. Alright, I'll swiftly move on. What have we got up next? I'm just pondering over which order to do things in. See what we've got lined up. Yeah, okay. We'll go with this next. Speaking of fascists, this is a general anti-fascist march which took place in Greece recently. It's just a brief clip of that. But it's to commemorate the life of Pavlos Phaisas, who was murdered by literal Greek far-right Nazis in 2013. I'll just get this lined up. And you'll have to forgive me, I don't really speak Greek to tell you what they're chanting in this song in this great show of solidarity here, but this is the march. I just want to see that's lined up okay. Can you all see that? Yeah. So yeah, solidarity with those protesters out there for that commemorative march in Greece. And please do feel free to throw up your Palestine flags as well. I forgot to mention there in the chat. Please do. Just looking in the chat, speaking of which, is there a bit of an issue with missing messages in the chat? Just make sure that you've selected live chat instead of top chat, because that means you should be able to see all of the messages there. You're right, Hev. Welcome back. Great to see you as well. It was appalling that it took that long for the United Nations to actually impose those sanctions. The thing with international politics is it works tremendously slow relative to justice, real justice in terms of action rather than sentiments. And yeah, thank you, brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, for throwing up those flags. Watermelons also. Whether you use the static emoji for members or you use the generic emoji, thank you everybody for showing that support. So speaking of protests, I'll try and let that lead nicely on to the next subject. I do have a clip lined up. Whoa. Sorry if the music went a bit funny there. I was just saying, related to protests related to Gaza. This is the latest in a trial. So-called Richard from Palestine Action, who appeared outside court today, was bailed, but is going to be returning to court for trial in October, and that was for taking part in an action against Elbit weapons manufacturers who are here in the UK and produce parts for weapons that have been used in this genocide, in this occupation, in this illegal collective punishment. So he made a statement, as did one of the co-founders of Palestine Action, outside the court today. Let's see what's happening. Just go back over to the clips. Okay, here we go, people.
Arming a genocide. Rather than prosecute the war criminals, they're going after those who speak out against them, who call for us to take direct action against them. One of the charges is Section 12(1)(a) under the Terrorism Act, essentially for calling for direct action. It's a very vindictive charge. It's one that has been spurred on by a Zionist campaign and a doxing campaign against Richard and Palestine Action. But I also want to remind everyone that we have 16 political prisoners. Yes. 16 people from Palestine Action are in prison for trying to stop a genocide. The Philipson 10 were held under the Terrorism Act and interrogated day after day whilst being held in solitary confinement in this country for taking action against Elbit systems. They are wielding counter-terrorism powers in a bid to protect Israel's weapons trade. And they are doing it because they know Palestine Action is a threat to the companies arming genocide. But Palestine Action will not stop. We will not give in. We will not surrender. And Elbit days in this country are numbered. And this trial and this prosecution proves that.
Woo! We will continue to fight. Nothing will stop us in our fight here. As we see the ongoing genocide day after day, it fills us with more anger and rage to continue our work here. I've only given 2 speeches in the last year, and I've been charged 3 times for doing those speeches. Therefore, it's better if somebody else calls.
Yeah, that's Richard from Palestine Action. I'll try to keep you up to speed with that case. Just wanted to show solidarity with Richard there, as someone who's taken non-violent direct action for political and environmental reasons before, not with Palestine Action, but Elbit really have their hands in the dirtiest money on the planet, let's be honest, and groups like Palestine Action have been successful in helping to shut them down, even though that they know that they might lose a small amount of their personal liberty. So just want to raise a cup of solidarity. And as you heard in that clip, there are currently 16 people from Palestine Action in prison, around 26 from Just Stop Oil and other UK environmental protest groups as well. And regular viewers on the channel know that I've been charged for all of my actions. I've had convictions, acquittals, drop cases, quite a mixed bag. So I believe it's in the middle of October when he'll have his trial, so I'll keep you up to speed with that one, like I said. And to bring you some more positive news, just on that sort of thing. Where are we now? There was a trial, another trial today, involving 2 supporters of JSO, Just Stop Oil. And they were acquitted for an action that they took last year. I don't know if you remember when Just Stop Oil were doing the slow marches, which were around cities and major towns across the country, but blocking roads with just a small amount of people, sometimes as few as 2 people. Let's take a look at that. And there they are. Morwena White Thompson and Louise Ranscombe acquitted at Stratford Magistrates Court after being sentenced for slow marching last November and subsequently charged under Section 7 of the Public Order Act. So yeah, bit of good news there, bit of social justice, bit of climate justice as well. I don't say too much about myself on the channel. This is a faceless channel, even though I do know some of the subscribers who I know in person. However, I've one of my trials from my actions that I mentioned was at Stratford Magistrates Court as well. So congratulations to Morwena and Louise. Great stuff, great stuff. But as I said, at the moment there are still 26 people in prison, including the Whole Truth 5, who I've mentioned a few times on the channel. And then just last week, 5 others were sentenced, and we're talking about 4 or 5 year sentences here. I'm sure most of you are familiar with that. And the group who were sentenced last week, sentences of 2 years, 3 years, this kind of thing. So the fight goes on, but please do support climate justice however much you can. Alright, just going to take a quick break with a comedy clip. Just a moment or two. This is one that I had on a recent live stream. You might have seen this one before, but if you haven't, it's definitely worth another watch. Just excuse me for a moment or two while I fix myself a drink. Sorry. Right, so this is this is a guy who's got a problem with his banking. Gets shown up in public. It's a parody clip. Just to be very clear about that. It's not an actual bank. Alright, I'll be right back with you people. Just give me a minute or two.
Hi, my bank account is stuck. I keep wiring a lot of money, but my balance won't shift.
Okay. How much money is it stuck at?
I don't see why that matters.
How much money, sir?
$50 million.
$50 million! We have a winner!
What is going on?
You won capitalism!
I don't like this. So how do I make more money?
That's the end. You did it. 50 million is plenty. Next.
What? No, you can't just...
I'm sorry, sir. Are you complaining about only having $50 million?
No, I just... This can't be a thing.
No, yeah, it is a thing now. It's a new law.
But I do...
I'm sorry. What exactly are you wanting to do that you can't do with $50 million?
Why would I even keep working?
Yeah, so no more money for you. That all goes to the poor. But don't be sad. You can still win Sticky Bucks.
No.
Get enough and win cool prizes like this custom toilet paper roll with the names of normies you beat at capitalism.
No, I don't want that. I want...
I know, more money. You sure do love your money, and that's why you get to cash in your first Sticky Bucks for a hug from Bucko McGee.
No, stay. No, get the f away from me!
Oh, good Bucko.
And yeah, let's think of the real victims, you know. Won't we shed a tear for people with only $50 million who can't wire even more into their bank accounts? Who cares about people getting carpet bombed and shot and the devices exploding randomly? These poor people. You know, that clip's made me really rethink my life, and my God, have I just realised the truth? No, I'm only joking. Okay, yeah, Hedy, you joining me for a second cup of tea? Let's get crazy. Let's go wild. Let's get tea drunk. And thanks for your patience there, as well as thanks for sticking it out with me on tonight's Brews at 10 live stream. Still a couple more bits and pieces to get through. I'm going to be raiding, redirecting into another channel hopefully later, so do stick around after I've finished. There has been some awesome content coming out recently as well. But next on the list of affairs, capitalism was the subject of that comedy clip, and political influence and lobbying certainly comes into that category. The latest revelation on Labour donors, this is quite a biggie. £4 million from a tax haven based hedge fund with shares in oil and arms. Now, are there any ongoing situations that you can think of that Keir Starmer might hold a certain point of view of Zionism that might involve the use and sale of arms? Can you think of anything that might come up in the news about that recently? Or even I might go as far as to stretch my imagination and say that, let's say, this is just a wild theory, that the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland was actually selling arms to countries like Israel? Or is that too far-fetched, do you think? So, Quadrator's donation, it says, is noteworthy, not just for being Labour's largest ever, but for its timing ahead of election. Let's take a look, let's see what's happening. There's Keith. Give us 4 million quid. Just get rid of this ad also. There we go. Largest donation in the party's history. We know he's had some backing before the election as well from Del Vince, and I think current Lord Sainsbury as well, as well as all the freebies he's had recently. mentioned that on the last live stream as well. And welcome to the chat, by the way, Super Tiny. Yeah, we've already been over the thing with the pages. If you want to skip back and start from there, just went over those developments from the last 48 hours with the abundance of devices that have been exploding today. Solar panels on roofs as well. Just quickly, I know we're on to another topic here, but keeps getting thrown back to that. I forgot to point out just a slight technical detail. It appears that it's lithium-based batteries mostly that are being affected. Just had to point that out. Anyway, on to Starmer and his tax haven money. So it came from a Cayman Islands registered hedge fund with shares worth hundreds of millions of pounds in fossil fuels, private health firms, arms manufacturers and asset managers. What a bunch of saints. Well, no, this sounds like a right rum lot, if you ask me. Electoral Commission records suggest Labour received the donation in the 1 week window before former Prime Minister Rishi Sunak announcing the general election and the start of the pre-roll reporting period in which all political donations over £11,180 had to be published weekly rather than the quarterly norm. Very strange specific amount, £11,180. I'm not sure what that's all about. But he's been pretty sort of lax in remembering to declare things recently, of course, hasn't he? Private boxes, suits, dresses for his wife, expensive dinners, etc. And now this. And of course he's happy to take away £200 or £300 from freezing pensioners that they might be relying on this winter and continuing with the 2-child benefit cap. He's already had 20 grand's worth of freebies since he was elected. In fact, most of the money he took was while he was in opposition, by the way. About £80,000 worth. Anyway, on with this. Paul Holden, an investigative journalist and author of The Fraud, a forthcoming book on Starmer's leadership, told Open Democracy, who I have to give a shout out to, by the way. This is who this article comes from. Shout out to Open Democracy. They told them that the donations timing fits the Starmer Project's pattern of delaying the disclosure of potentially sensitive or controversial political donations. They're nothing like the Tories, though. It's change. Things are going to swing around and we're going to head in the right direction away from austerity with public investment and a fully funded and publicly owned national health service, as well as essential infrastructure such as utilities and railways. Right, Keith? Right, Keith? That's what's going to happen, isn't it? Probably not. Okay. Holden also referred to a fine issued by the Electoral Commission to Starmerite think tank Labour Together in 21 for its failure to declare donations worth more than £800,000, including 730 grand received while it was under the directorship of Starmer's key advisor and Number 10's Director of Political Strategy, Morgan McSweeney. Boo. We talked a little bit more about him on the last live stream on Monday with regards to how he was quite big in the usurping of Jeremy Corbyn and the anti-Semitism scam that surrounded the 2019 election and the undermining of Corbyn by the Labour right. Please do check that out if you want to know just what kind of a piece of crap Morgan Sweeney is. But £800,000, how can you... Oh, sorry, I forgot. There was... Just while you're on the topic of declarations, yeah, there might have been this £800,000, but I'm not sure. We take so much money, take so many freebies that it's hard to keep count. In fact, sometimes we pay our accountants a little bit more just to perhaps make sure that a few things fall through the cracks or whatever. You can have a late night shredding session, for example. Speaking of which, while I'm on the topic of Starmer, did you know that his 4 visits to Washington while he was head of the CPS were completely deleted from the records. That is the CPS records of what went on at the meetings. Red flags. You know what I mean? But a lot of us saw this coming, of course. It's no surprise to me. Other than the haste and ferocity which he's gone at stuff like this. So Rosie Whiffen, who's the Senior Research Officer at Transparency International UK, told Open Democracy that, quote, while the public see political parties relying on such large sums of money in donations from private sources, it understandably raises questions as to in whose interest politicians are working, and can give the impression our democracy is for sale. Oh, it can give the impression that our democracy is for sale, can it? Look around you, you know. Just a lot of people view the world with blinkers on, don't they? I mean, seriously. Wake the hell up. More must be done to take this kind of big money out of politics. The new government should commit to introducing caps on individual donations to tackle this problem and restore public trust in how our democracy functions. Let's see a little bit more about this company. Quadrature Capital says has a diversified share portfolio worth around £6 billion, according to records filed with the US Securities and Exchange Commission last month. £6 billion. Not a bad chunk of change. This was a values-based donation, not a political donation. As this is what they're saying. As Quadrature Capital Limited remains non-partisan and apolitical going forward. Our private... Oh. You've got to be kidding me. You've got to be... How is that apolitical? How in the world can that be apolitical at all? Are you buying that? Because I'm not. I'm absolutely not.
You gotta be fucking kidding.
You have to be kidding. You have to be kidding. You're apolitical, but you're going to give £4 million to a political party just before it was very likely that they were going to win the next general election. And you don't want anything in return for your £4 million. And you're good honest people who hide profits in the Cayman Islands and don't pay tax in this country. You know, I'm sure that you're morally sound. Among Quadrature Capital's other investments, its largest holding is in Apple. It gets better. Valued at £231 million, and among its 10 largest holdings are other blue chip stocks like Amazon, Shopify and Costco. Sigh. What else have they got? Northrop Grumman, they've got 31 million in that. Lockheed Martin, massive weapons manufacturer Lockheed Martin. Private healthcare companies, they've got 31 million in that. HCA Healthcare, another 16 million. They like the private healthcare, don't they? Asset management, such as Blackstone, 22 million. KKR, 7 million, who potentially stand to benefit significantly from Labour's plans to utilise private investment for infrastructure and tech firms, including Palantir. Oh my god, £71 million. They've got £71 million in Palantir and Oracle. What a set. Honestly, wow. Yeah, they're backing some seriously shady companies. And now they're backing some seriously shady prime ministers. And did you know he was former director of public prosecutions, son of a toolmaker? 4 million quid. Yippee. So this is how this all came to light. Documents obtained by Open Democracy showed that when QC Ventures was established in the Cayman Islands back in 2018, its directors were 3 senior directors at Quadrature and corporate services provider based in Cayman. He added, "We're concerned that parts of the last government were turning a blind eye to these issues. I hope to come forward with further proposals in the coming weeks, while my left eye is happy to report this story tonight on behalf of OpenDemocracy.net. Just one final point before I move on. Fran Bowaite, who's the co-executive director at Positive Money, said, "In taking large donations from financial firms registered in tax havens, we have to question what influence the sector is getting in return." Oh, damn straight, yeah. Labour's plans to continue the previous government's deregulation of the City of London are particularly concerning, especially when it's been shown that an oversized financial sector hinders rather than helps the worst of the economy. And of course it was the same in the 1980s when it all started. That is the deregulation of stock markets, financial institutions with Ronald Reagan and you know who. Okay, that's almost going to wrap it up from me, but as I said, stick around. I'm going to be redirecting if anybody's still live at the moment. I know it's been a busy old time on YouTube for streamers the last few days with all this going on. Well, how soon are we going to have to start calling it World War III? So I've got, a bit of a choice here, but I will go with Helena at No Justice, who's been awesome and given shout outs to the channel as well as raided into my left eye as well, so solidarity back at you, Helena. I might be joining you over there in the chat very shortly, so please don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters. Just finally want to give a shout out to the members on the channel, as I always like to do at the beginning and end of streams, and just a final quick shout out on my stall. If you want to join this list of people, you can do so for just 99 pence. What a bargain. Check out the perks. Please do help to show solidarity and support the channel in that way. And if you're watching back on a replay, you can hit super thanks. Super thanks for recent super thanks as well on the channel. And to those of you who've gifted memberships to other viewers as always. So don't go anywhere. And of course there'll be more to come from me through the week, so please do keep an eye out for the content here on my left eye. So I've been your host Lefty, you've all been very wonderful. As always, it's been great to see you, whether it's your first time here on the live stream or whether you're a regular viewer. Fun as always. Alright, so until next time everybody, you take care of yourselves. You might be seeing me in the chat on Helena's No Justice channel, as I said. But if not, then take very good care of yourselves, and my left eye will be seeing you soon.